to look at the potential orchard site on the Langton Road. So we're just about less than a mile out of Great Bowden. So we've got Bruce from the Wildlife Trust, the Bowden Wildlife Trust, and we've got Nigel, who is going to give us advice about orchard planting and management, development. I think today, this is quite an early meeting, and we want to look at the site again, work out how we can space out the trees, and start talking about what surveys that we can do for wildlife, animals and flowers.
Is this to look after the existing wildlife that's possibly on here, or to bring in more wildlife?
Essentially, my first thought was to preserve the current wildlife.
Okay.
Because if you look at this part of the land here, it's got a wonderful ridge and furrow element of it. And if we can get the evidence that it's a site with plenty of wildlife, that we can then register it. You'll know more of the technical terms, because across the road there is a site, an SSSI site.
Just tell us what that means.
Site of scientific special interest.
Okay.
And then we can register it as a site, and that will mean that we can preserve the longevity of the orchard, so it will be protected from development, basically.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah.
So my feeling is we'll just walk around
Just
the
have a
boundary
wander around, yeah.
and just come up with ideas as you see the lay of the land. I'm just going to make notes at the moment. Orchard visit. So present.
So we're actually bounded by the fence. Yeah, I assume.
Yes.
So all the hedges are not yours, ours.
We've had a discussion with Andrew, the hedge layer.
Yeah.
And if we look very closely,
What do you think, Nigel?
Well, this is the first time I've seen this site, and it looks very large, lots of room for trees and other things. An awful lot of work to be done, I think, on maintaining hedges, so it's important we know whose responsibility it is.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
who's going to pay for having it done.
Yeah.
But it does look an interesting site.
It does,
Have
doesn't
you
it?
scanned round so people can see
I've
the size of
done
it?
this part. We haven't done the other part. We'll
Yeah.
do that. This part here, folks, what we're looking at here is only half of it. I'm going to show you the other half in a little while once we've walked round.
Scope for a bit of hedge laying.
yeah. Well, my feeling is that we're going to perhaps get 6 to 8 local volunteers to come along and perhaps do a month of hedge laying every year and just move our way round.
Perhaps if we could find someone to train a group of volunteers, and then you could attack it in various batches.
Yes, and the person I've asked is Andrew Jackson Brown, who belongs to the Country Craft Association. And though he comes from Derbyshire, he's very interested, and he's come down and had a look at the site and has given lots of advice. So he might be the trainer.
Because they do hedge laying courses at Rotten Water, the Wildlife Trust.
Do they?
Yeah.
At Egan, yeah.
So,
I mean, you can look up the website and it will tell you when the next one is. But,
They're quite regular
they're
as well.
fairly regular, aren't they? Yeah.
because there's actually a very a shorter course at
Brooksby College.
Not Brooksby.
Broxhill.
Broxhill in Oadby.
yeah.
Yes. So I think you might sign up for that to get basic.
Oh yes, you mentioned that to me the other day.
Yeah.
Yes.
So please, can you know very much about how we can protect the land? I've gone on to
No,
mean, basically, I'm a bird watcher.
Oh, right, yes.
I know little else in terms of
light soil with a decent depth of topsoil, or whether it's all clay. But it looks to me that it's fairly light soil, just looking at the grasses.
Yes, this has been eaten down, so it's...
You fancy doing some digging as well, Julie? I'll film you.
That's all right. I've got enough work on at the moment.
There's no water on the land, so this is where the sheep, I think they have to come along with their water supplies and just tip the tree.
tip within.
Has this been disconnected?
I don't know quite what's that, or whether it's...
Well, it was connected once.
See, it doesn't actually go anywhere. And I think Mary Weston has actually looked at the land to see if there is any water, so she's...
Okay.
I don't know, I mean there's a pipe down there, but and that perhaps controls the water flow, but... Unless they've got another filling mechanism that there's a huge container or...
Oh.
That looks like a cistern, a ball and...
Yeah, I don't know if the whole lot, the trough has just been dumped here and cistern and all, or whether it was actually connected once.
Oh, that's true actually, yes. There's that thing behind, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, is that attached to it? It looks concrete, same sort of concrete, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it was probably connected. So they've concreted the platform as well.
Just exploring, folks, to see whether there's any water coming into this trough, but we don't think there is.
Plant the trees and water them in the dry. That may mean that Mary has to bring us a big container of water and we use that as... Or, thinking along the permacultural lines, we've got to perhaps work out how to actually have a rainwater. That would be very much. But whether we plant the trees with a slight dip so they collect a bit of water or...
Yeah, so on one of the plots where I'm growing trees, there is no water supply, so you just have to be very careful. So that by the time you get to the dry season, they are established and they won't dehydrate.
Yes, so is it better to get rooted ones, or it doesn't really matter, but...
I would think probably bare rooted and plant them in the winter would be the best approach, I think.
Yes. Because we thought, though I've got 100 apple trees around my house, actually I'd like to have input of other apple trees, perhaps some from your collection, and also some from the Walcott nursery. They've given me
the organic nursery?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they presented in all the heritage apple trees as well.
Yeah, they've got a very good selection.
So I think bringing in more different varieties would be good as well.
Yeah.
So it can act as our own source. I'm very interested in heritage apple trees. Oh, we are heritage trees.
I mean, is that what you want to be planting here? Sorry.
Well, over the years, my understanding of heritage has slipped slightly, because I realise the trees which do well, it depends on the soil thickness here. Or we could actually make it a part of the show area, that in this area we fence it off because this is where you can see the lichens. Is there a better time of the year to spot lichens, do you think, or...?
I know nothing about lichens at
No,
all.
me neither. Like I say, I'm confined to birds, really. I mean, I can certainly ask.
So I wonder whether it's worth getting some of your associates to come along and tell us when we should be doing the surveys and when's the best time to spot what we do have.
What sort of birds do you think we would come across here?
Finches, tits, the robin, dunnock.
Just the common one.
Hedge, wrens. Plus, obviously, your wood pigeons.
Yeah.
Kestrel, sparrowhawk.
Yeah, because we're next to the roads, aren't we? So.
In the winter time, I haven't actually seen many berries around, but there's a few here.
There's a lot.
You're going to get your
holes.
thrushes as well, you know,
Yeah.
blackbirds, your winter thrushes, your fieldfare and redwing. Nothing unusual.
No.
Nothing out of the ordinary.
No.
Said it's not really suitable for young children. There's a nice little track there, isn't there? Oh, let's just take a photograph of a track.
To do, Judith, is to think, okay, we're going to have an orchard here, and then choose a little area, a little corner where you start one off.
Yes. And I was almost thinking of starting on the other side, actually, because the ground is flatter.
And it's a narrower area, but perhaps it would be good to keep it area relatively clear for the little projects you have in mind.
Yes. Could this be? Could this slightly out of Harborough? I don't think you can encourage Mary to keep some animals here, like the heritage varieties, which can graze the grass in a controlled manner.
They might eat trees.
Well, it depends on the
I can see Nigel's face.
Well, trees and livestock don't mix, so you've got to make sure that they're properly fenced if you do have them.
Yeah, so we'd have to do that kind of thing.
Yes.
Now we thought to make it more child friendly, this is presumably the British Rail old fence, we could grow another set of plants, for example vines or the loganberries and the raspberries, a sort of fruit, edible hedge essentially.
Yes.
To make it safer for children. And because there's a path along here, we want to sort of protect the site because there's been a lot of dumping by antisocial public. So we want to sort of give it slight protection. So we're going to have a membership of the orchard. So we have a small group of us who come in on a regular basis, pay £5 each, and that will pay for our insurance, and then have community days when people come in and help us with the harvest or apple crossing or surveys. So this is a public right of way through the area. So we almost wonder whether we can almost fence it off so they can view it but not drive in and.
Oh, I see. Yes.
Well, that gate's locked, isn't it? The gate's locked.
The gate's locked. There's another gate down at the bottom.
Oh, right. Is that unlocked?
So they're both locked.
Right.
I have forgotten the passcode to get in, and Mary's put a massive chain in.
Right.
Because when we first came, we had big piles of wood which has just been dumped, and we had 2 bonfires to burn all the wood. So we cleared a lot of rubbish from the land already, actually.
Yeah.
Let's go and look at the pond, which is just this sunken area here.
Right.
So, folks, you've just had a look around the first part, and we're now entering the second part. And part of this plot is a pond. We don't see many of them around these days, do you? Not like when I was a kid.
No.
This could be wonderful products. come along and look at it. I don't think it's very deep. Quite muddy, isn't it? Not seen anything.
It's surprising it was. Isn't it? I'm sure there must be wildlife of some sort of in here, but again, what would be in there? Somebody else would have to come.
Oh yeah, this is. So when you, for example, do a bird survey, how do you do it? Do you come along early in the morning and sit it out? And
Well, that's the best time to do it. Yes, yeah. And I mean, the point about a bird survey is if you came in here with half a dozen people, then you'd frighten most of them away. So,
yes.
so yes, solitary person, maybe two, and yeah, probably just to sit in the middle and keep still and let the birds come to you, as it were. But I mean, certainly myself, I can tell you what's here just by listening. Don't have to see them. I'm just, from the songs, tweets, calls, I could tell you what's here.
So do an official survey. Would you have to come once a month and do it over a year, or
Oh,
is it
yeah,
just a one-off?
No, you couldn't do a one-off, yeah, because you're going to get different birds at different time of the year. Certainly around this way, while doing surveys, I've heard and seen willow warblers, for instance, and common whitethroat, sort of around here in the hedges. Certainly, I can recall from.
Yes.
So yes, you'd need 4 or 5 visits over the course of the year, I think. I've done something very similar, which I actually did every month at the Arboretum.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
behind for
The school, the
for
Robert
George,
Smythe.
yes, for George
Yes.
Marshall. I did for 2 years. I did a survey there to record
Yes.
what was in there, which I could come and do here anytime. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there'll be people who've not. I'd love to join you, because I'm sure it's quite educational to see what actually is around, rather than the birds which fly off as you walk around. But
Yeah.
I must admit, I've had an interest in birds all my life, but I've never got to grips with the bird sounds, except for the common ones.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Well, that's one of those things. It's experience.
Yeah.
You can listen to them on sound recordings and
Yeah.
without actually going out into the field and sort of listening to them and then seeing what they are.
Yeah.
And you develop that skill over many years. It's not something that will just come in in a few weeks or a few months' time. So.
We're talking about the tawny owl, aren't we?
Yes.
Because I've been recording that in the mornings, and I came across somebody this morning who said, no, that's definitely not a tawny owl. They make a screeching sound. I said, they don't. And he said, yes, they do. I've got that right, haven't I? It's the... That's the tawny owl, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have it. So we're walking around the second part, and it goes right down to that fence down the bottom there. We've just been looking, and we think it's like the whole area is either 1.5 or 2 acres in size.
All these were just dumped, so we put them in the car, but we've been sitting on them, so we've had our...
Yes.
I'm sure what this is, but...
Well, the lights at this end is actually this is the obvious place to put your food. The orchard, yeah. Okay, quieter. There's a superb light.
Plus you're
Well away from where all the birds were.
quite fenced off, or half fenced off. It wouldn't take much, presumably, to complete fence off from the foot.
That's
Yes.
right, yes you could.
This side.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's was slightly... Oh, it's still visible, but...
Yeah.
So if we had 40 trees, and they're 8 metres apart.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just piece that out. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you could possibly put your first tree in here,
Yeah.
for example.
Yeah.
And then 1, 2, 3. And then another tree here.
Yep.
My feeling is to have fewer trees rather than more trees, rather than get as many in.
They'll grow properly, won't
they grow properly, you can get around them, and you can interplant it really, well, they're really good space here.
Yes, that makes sense.
Judith? It would be good to have some cameras in here recording the wildlife, because I can see from the tracks and that.
It's such a good idea.
Yes,
you know,
Yes.
Yeah.
you know, get some of those in.
Well, I was going to do my hedgehog monitoring, because I've got hedgehog tunnels, which I've been getting very excited. And that's why I joined the Wildlife Trust, so I can become registered to monitor hedgehogs. So, and if you could do, and then you go on to monitor dormice, or having dormice stations. But I think perhaps in hedges before we lay them, we could perhaps see whether there's any dormice. Not that we expect very many in this area.
I wouldn't have thought so.
They're just not very
I'd be
present.
amazed if there were any dormice.
Walking down the hedge, I can't see any dormice hedges, nests. So
I bet it's ideal for owls.
Yeah, you come along here in the evening, you'll see
Yeah,
barn owls.
Yeah.
flying over. And there's several people in the village who tawny owls. They've said they've heard.
yeah.
I've never heard any, but
We've got quite a few in my village.
yeah.
So how did you come across this land then, Judith? How did you approach somebody, or did they approach you?
I think the conversation between Darren in the transition group in Harborough and the Great Baden Charity has been going on for about a minimum of 2 years, if not 10 years. And for some reason, it's come to fruition this last few months.
Right.
And I think Mary's, who's had the cattle on the land, she has been renting the land to put cattle on. She's complaining about the gypsies or whoever's been dumping on the land or occupying. There's horses on this land right until quite recently, and finally they managed to negotiate for them to take the horses off and then put the gates in, and then it's now become available. So it's just all come together, and so we've jumped in and said yes. And then it's
This looks a really interesting plot.
It
should be very good.
There's great variety as well. So
You've even had some manure delivered.
yes, Mary's delivering manure. This is proper manure, not just
Yeah.
dumped. Yes. So we can, yes, just put it on the trees underneath. It looks that looks older than Pembroke.
So Mary's got the keys to the gate.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Actually, it's on a lock. You just put a code in and get in.
Yeah.
So, they're very heavy duties.
Lots of tracks.
Yeah, I imagine.
Lots of rabbits here, I can imagine, at night.
Yeah, rabbits. Yeah, I've seen rabbits here before.
What's the myxomatosis like?
Patches around or not?
No. Myxomatosis, is that still around in this area? Or?
I haven't heard of it, no.
No.
In fact, well, we live along the railway line.
Right.
Side of the sort of centre of the village, and there's rabbits running along there.
Yeah.
So which is your village then?
We live in Broughton. Well, I live in Broughton Astley, and
Astley.
Nigel lives in Croft.
Right. Yeah.
I've got allotments in Croft. We've just got a piece of land in Hinckley to set up a community garden for the carers, and so we're setting that up. And that's how I met Nigel, and then we're involved with all these, probably a dozen projects around Leicestershire, what we film, and Nigel, you know, gives all the help with the apples, setting up the orchards, and I've got a YouTube channel with about 900 videos, or over 900 videos on it.
And I'm happy to talk to them. We'll find a good home for them.
Yes. Oh, yes. It's perfect to have flowers all the year round.
Yeah.
And I meant to bring my little jasmine self-plant cutting, get it in the ground. Because at the moment there's no flower. The only thing which I've seen is jasmine and berberis. Now they've fenced this off and they've decided that they'll probably give us this bit of land as well. I think it's just natural.
Well, perhaps this is the area for facilities and your compost toilet or whatever.
Yes. Yes, I've got somebody called Tim Sensible from Nottingham who will hope to come to the next meeting.
What's his real name?
Well, his email, he calls himself Tim, and email has got Sensible. So I keep trying to call him Tim Sensible, so we're going to have a course about he's going to lead us in making a compost toilet. And that's next year's round of grant, because then we discussed about disability access. And from the other side, it's very difficult if you've got a major disability to get onto land with wheelchairs.
Yeah.
And to make a disability
Friendly.
toilet, you need a whole area of concrete so you can actually wheelchair in and out. And and some people say, no, don't. We just accept that it's not accessible to everyone, and we take the orchard back to the people in Harborough as apple days and cookery sessions and grafting sessions, and just accept that it's not fully accessible.
That's the problem. Because I looked at disability when I had my idea of my project, and I was told about the costs and that involved was tens of thousands to get it ready.
Yes.
So you have to make compromises where, because in my case, mine's for carers, but there might come with somebody who's disabled. So you have to try and do the best you can, but make it quite clear that it's not actually ready for disabled.
Yes. And the same for children. I've had to say it's not perfectly child safe.
Yeah.
Well,
we might work towards it, but...
Yes, we're going to have to be careful about the pond, or you're going to have to be careful about that, because it will be so easy to concrete it all round and have a handrail on it to adhere to health and safety.
Yes.
But then you've destroyed what was there.
Yes.
So you've got to come to some decisions on that, I guess.
Yes. Yes, my feeling is yes, it's put a fence much further away from it, so you look from a distance rather than make it easily accessible. Really.
Yeah.
A bit like
Are you worried about that because you're expecting people to come here with their children working? So, or what? Because I mean, at the end of the day, they've argued about this when they dug another pond over the road, and people were saying, "Oh, that needs to be fenced off because of children." And yet, you can walk up the road to the canal, and that's not fenced off at all.
Yes, that's true. And we went to the
that's a good point.
Yesterday. Yes. Crowded people, and we're sort of like, woo! No one fed in, but.
See, on our allotments. Oh, that's a long one. On our allotments, they won't let us have ponds, even if we've got our allotments fenced in.
Yeah.
And I've got a 4 foot fence around mine, but can't have a pond on the allotments, even though it attracts the frogs and that, what you need for your plants, you know, and yeah, health and safety.
It's a tick box exercise as opposed to a practical thing.
Yeah.
And it's for insurance as
But
well.
I don't know whether in a lot of these cases it is actually an issue with the health and safety, or whether it's just the people in between the health and safety and you who are using it as an excuse to cover them.
Well, I think for the insurance purpose, if you're going to call it a community land, you've got to invite the public in, and you've got to have due regard to their safety.
If you assess the risk in a sensible way and make sure it's documented, surely that should be enough.
Yes. Yes. And we just have to say, yes, it's not got free access to children. I mean, some people always say, well, I want to bring my children to enjoy the pleasures, but I think there has to be limitations, like you say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, if you say in some sort of way, either a little notice here or prior to people coming, children come at your
Own risk.
Yes.
They're your responsibility. Would that not cover?
Yes, I think so.
I would have thought it would.
There's all these
So long as
things I need to know.
it's stated somewhere, and that people are aware of it before they do come. That, you know, if you do bring your children along, well, it's at their
So we've got to
responsibility, at their own risk.
I suppose at the planning stage we're just pushing limits and seeing what we can do, but
What are you up to here then, Nigel?
I'm just seeing what the soil's like.
Ah, doing a quick survey.
And it seems really light and crumbly.
It does, doesn't it?
Looks
Very
beautiful.
sandy.
Yeah, rather sandy.
Question is, how far down does it go like that? And it's looking as though it's quite promising.
I think it's going to be okay. Looks rather like the soil of just an...
You can imagine if the cows and the horses have been on here for a while, then obviously they've...
Well, it looks like they've been here for an awful long time.
No signs of clay there, is there?
No signs of clay at all.
No.
No, I think we're okay. I think that's going to
Yeah.
be good. It's quite dry in spite of the rain we've had recently.
That, folks. Yeah. Okay, folks, we've done one hole and Nigel's digging another hole now to test what the soil's like in this lower part of the piece of land. Obviously, the idea behind this is to see how fertile the soil is going to be for putting in an orchard. But this area is not just going to be an orchard. We're going to, as you say, it's going to be for wildlife, not just birds. It could be for animals, for everything. So this could be quite an interesting project to follow through. What do you think, Nigel?
It looks exactly the same as it did up there, very light and
Yeah.
sandy.
And what do you think to the project?
I think it's quite an exciting one.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
What a lovely area.
The one drawback at the moment, though I'm sure we'll be able to work round it, is there's no water supply.
Yeah.
So sandy soil drains quickly.
Yes.
So we're going to have to be very careful when we sow young trees because we won't be able to water them. So we're going to have to think carefully about that.
Could it be possible that they could have another pond?
Well, that's one possibility.
I mean, especially down here. Judith,
Yes.
one suggestion would be that it had another pond down here. Because the water's going to drain down here, and that would be for the watering.
To create a pond.
Create a pond to take water from for the
Yes, to sink a pond.
That's what I mean.
To sink a well.
Yeah.
All possible, yeah.
Because somebody did sink a well in Lebanon.
You could sink a well and have a hand pump with a handle you bring down yourself.
Yes.
So that people couldn't mess about with it.
That's...
You think about this, there's quite a slope, you're going to get quite a lot of water running down here.
You can see it's beautiful soil. Look at this, there's no trace of clay. But look how dry
sandy.
it is.
It is dry though, isn't it?
Yeah, so
Really...
we're going to have a problem with young trees getting dehydrated if we don't think about it carefully.
Now, one thought I had is that if we put a plastic tube in,
Yeah.
and the end of the tube is where the roots are, we could just pour it down the...
Yeah, they do that in a lot of council plantations. You see these tubes coming out of the soil.
Oh, I thought I invented that idea.
Yeah. I don't think there's going to be any clay down there.
No.
It just doesn't look like clay soil at all.
There's quite a few roots, aren't there?
Yeah, I think they'll be from there, I guess.
Do we to give a bit more...
You jump to a little bit.
It's quite solid, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I think that's because it's dry. It's not that good a fork, really. We should have built a sharper one.
I should have bought a pot so we can do a survey of them.
Yeah, we could do a pH test too.
Yes. I don't think I've got anything in this pot.
It looks just like the soil at my mother's garden, very sandy, dry and quite fertile, but it drains quite quickly.
Lie.
Yes, we can't get much further down on this.
No, not really, not without some fairly serious effort. I'm sure there's no clay there. Well, that's going to be good.
Maybe we put a bag to get a sample from the floor.
Have you got a pH kit?
Oh, get one from work.
Yeah. I use